The study of Old Norse mythology, history, religion, and culture is truly a fascinating field. However, it does present many challenges. The primary issue lies in drawing a clear distinction between the old faith and the new. Anne Sophie Grosland points out three important reasons for this problem. First, conversion from the old pagan ways to Christianity was a very long process, not something that occurred rapidly or as a result of a single factor or event. Secondly, Grosland says that during this conversion process, both religions mutually influenced one another, resulting in some loss of their distinct characteristics. Finally, much of the symbolism and practice found in each belief system may outdate both religions, and each may have received this cultural knowledge from the same unknown source. A second issue comes with the transmission of knowledge and cultural memory. Gisli Sigurdsson says that everything we have to say, both as scholars and persons in the real world outside academia, orally or in writing, reflects on our present conditions, interests, points of view, and so on. Information about historical events from the distant past was likely only available if it had been passed down through social and narrative context. Narratives surrounding historical events were shaped by a variety of factors and perspectives. The way they were remembered and retold evolved over time to meet the needs of different performances and were dependent upon the social context and the agenda and perspective of the storyteller. For example, members of the royal male elite in Norway may have remembered and retold stories differently than people of different classes and genders in Iceland. Thus, memories of the past are not just about the facts, but about the personal significance they hold for individuals. There's no way to verify these memories against contemporary evidence except for general knowledge about migrations and religious changes in the North Atlantic islands. When it comes to specific events, there's a lack of concrete proof. Important, also, is that the pagan past was not merely a backdrop for stories, but a fully functioning, predominantly oral culture with its own laws, orders, and beliefs about life and the universe. Even after the formal acceptance of Christianity, this culture did not disappear entirely. While religious practices may have changed, other aspects of society, such as ways of learning, thinking, and sharing knowledge through stories and poetry, continued as before. Various ideas about the world were kept alive in the culture. These ideas were associated with the pagan deities, even though they were no longer the primary object of worship. The physical world that people lived in remained largely unchanged through the ages. This knowledge indicates that the traditional framework of interpreting medieval text as a binary opposition between pagan and Christian must be challenged. No community can be treated as a united entity with a single, shared social memory. Instead, there are many different environments within every culture and community, and individuals can be a part of multiple environments. A more nuanced and complex approach to understanding the historical context of medieval texts, acknowledging the many different forces and environments that shape their production and interpretation, is called for. One such approach may be found in syncretism. Dictionary.com defines syncretism as the attempted reconciliation or union of different or opposing principles, practices, or parties, as in philosophy or religion. Leopold and Jensen offer an astute metaphor for this process. When two biologically dissimilar organisms procreate, there are two choices: reproduction, as in cloning, or genetic blending. Religion and culture, they argue, are propagated through these same processes. Syncretism, then, is the interaction and negotiation among domains and groups which were originally quite different from one another. Manu Braithwaite Westby makes a distinction between syncretism and comparison which is also helpful. Comparison looks for similarities and differences. Syncretism, on the other hand, looks for unions of opposing ideas. Before Christianity even arrives in the Scandinavian regions, syncretism has already occurred in Old Norse. Rock carvings found in Norway provide insight into the early meeting of religions in the northern territory of Scandinavia. These carvings suggest that there was a meeting between the faith, beliefs, and magic of two essentially different societies: the northern, predominantly nomadic hunters and fishermen, and the southern, more settled farmers who practiced the herding of cattle and the cultivation of grain. These two societies had different socio-economic systems, each with its own unique religion rooted in their respective practices. This encounter between two different societies is reflected in the religion of the Viking Age, which presents itself as a syncretism. According to the tradition, the gods behind the palisade of Asgard were of two kinds, the result of an exchange of hostages after war between the Aesir and the Vanir. From the flock of Vanir came two fertility gods to dwell in Asgard and be accepted there on equal terms with the other gods around the Allfather, Odin. Norland explains that this syncretism is often interpreted as a contrast between fertility religion and a more aristocratic and warlike religion attached to the cult of Othin. The fertility religion is thought to be an old trait belonging to the indigenous population of Scandinavia, while the Othin cult is seen as something introduced by the Indo-European boat axe people who migrated to the region. Despite the wealth of material available to us, such as mythological poetry, legends, and 13th century information, we still struggle to fully describe the syncretistic processes that created the Old Norse religion and the religions that influenced it. These images are of the rock paintings found in Alta in northern Norway. They were made between 2,000 and 7,000 years ago. 4 sites are found in the area, 3 rock carving collections, and 1 site with rock paintings. Thousands of engravings are found, and many believe that Alta was a religious meeting place during the Stone Age. In fact, there's more hunter-gatherer rock art found in Alta than anywhere else in Northern Europe. The artwork contained within these ancient sites gives us profound insight into the cosmology, ritual, tradition, and social lives of prehistoric hunters and gatherers. There are many ways in which we can study the syncretism of Old Norse and Christianity. One such way is by investigating burial sites. This is the method Anne Sophie Groslin employed to the Birka grave sites. 6 criteria distinguish pagan and Christian burials: method of burial, orientation, external shape of the grave, location, grave goods, and burial ceremonies. Where we find cremation, mound-shaped graves, a lack of grave goods, and either no preservation markings or rectangular stone settings, we are likely looking at a pagan burial site. An interesting archaeological discovery is that some sites contain remains of weapons which have been cremated along with the bodies, a pre-Christian funeral tradition. On the other hand, Christian remains may be either cremated or inhumated. They often face to the east, where Jesus will appear on Judgment Day, and are decorated with grave goods such as jewelry or candles. Christian sites are also often located in cemeteries, indicated by graves that lie close together, marked by some kind of boundary. After analyzing more than 1,000 extracted graves at Birka, Gosselin determined distinguishing Christian graves from pagan ones was a significant challenge. Most sites contained remnants of both Christianity and paganism, such as cross pendants alongside Thor's hammer. The author points out that one reason for the mixture of these religious aspects in Birka results from the belief system of the surviving family, who, in the end, are responsible for burial rites. Many Christians visiting the old pagan sites to honor their ancestors helped to create a greater fusion between these belief systems. The Birka graves, then, show us an excellent example of syncretism through archaeological evidence. Snorri Sturluson was a powerful chieftain, a poetic genius, and a master constructor of cultural capital. His contributions cannot be understated. The Prose Edda is evidence that the telling and interpretation of pagan mythology was not problematic and even continued after Christianity became the official religion. For a syncretistic analysis of Old Norse and Christianity, his literary work provides a powerful means of measurement. In the poetic Edda, Odin, the All-Father, is primarily known as the god of war, wisdom, magic, and poetry. He's depicted as a cunning and ruthless warrior who delights in battle. However, in Snorri's Prose Edda, Odin is portrayed as a much more elevated and powerful figure. He's depicted as a wise and benevolent father figure to the other gods. Much like the Christian God, he's portrayed as a wise and all-knowing figure who offers guidance and wisdom to humans. Snorri portrays Loki as an evil force that seeks to undermine the goodness of the gods, which is similar to the Christian idea of Satan trying to lead humans astray from God. The story of Loki's fall from grace in Norse mythology also has similarities to the story of the angel Lucifer's fall from grace in the Bible. Both involve a figure who was once among the divine or godly beings, but was cast out due to their actions. Snorri portrays Loki as instrumental in Baldur's death, equating him with the Christian concept of the devil. This portrayal of Loki reflects Christian beliefs about Satan and the idea of original sin. Baldur was transformed into a Christ-like figure who is a god of light, beauty, and purity. His death is seen as a sacrifice that brings about reconciliation between the gods and humanity, similar to the Christian story of Jesus Christ. Snorri's version of Baldur's death and resurrection draw clear parallels to Christianity. Snorri's Prose Edda demonstrates the syncretism of Old Norse and Christianity found in the transition of these characters. His portrayal combines elements of both religions, creating a narrative that reflects the religious and cultural beliefs of the time. In a truly fascinating thesis, Jesse Engelkens presents a model for studying the syncretism among pagan tradition, mythology, and Christianity, the pagan Christ model. The term, says Engelkens, denotes attributing Christ-like qualities to a historical or mythological figure as described in the canonical New Testament text. The author presents an excellent argument, highlighting the ways in which both John the Baptist and Snorri Sturluson devised a pagan Christ for their audiences. Many scholars have argued that for these men who desperately wished to share the message of Christ with their pagan brethren, allusions to the old ways may have been the path of least resistance. These pagan Christ models may have been intentional on the part of Snorri and John. Perhaps, though, these men were simply sharing the message of the gospel in the best available terminology known to them at the time. To close, I would like to present some of the most enduring examples of Old Norse and Christianity syncretism, all of which revolve around the tradition of Yule. Many Christmas traditions can be traced back to Norse mythology and folklore. The Vikings worshipped evergreens, such as the Christmas tree, which represented the promise of a new life during winter. The festive wreath was originally used as a symbol of victory, but became associated with Yuletide as a reminder of warmer days to come. Mistletoe symbolized renewal, love, and peace, stemming from the Norse legend of Frigg and Balder. The 12 Days of Christmas originated from the 12-day midwinter festival of Yule. Christmas ham, a staple on many Christmas tables, also has its roots in the Viking tradition of sacrificing a wild boar to the god Freyr. The Yule log was a selected log ceremonially burnt during Yuletide to protect the home and act as kindling for the following year's Yule log. The Christmas elf, commonly depicted as a short, pointy hat-wearing creature, can be traced back to the Alfar and Asi of Nordic mythology. Father Christmas is believed to have originated from the Norse god Odin, who rode his 8-legged horse across the sky to deliver gifts. Christianity's influence on world culture and other religions is undeniable. The Nordic, paganistic traditions also impose themselves onto Christianity, and never is that more clear than at Yuletime.